Seamstress altering my wedding dress found something sewn into the hem and asked, "Who gave you this dress?" The answer exposed my fiancé's 2-year lie. I was at my final dress fitting when everything unraveled. The seamstress, Mrs. Park, was adjusting the hem of my wedding dress when she suddenly stopped. Her fingers had found something in the fabric. "There's something sewn into the hem," she said, carefully feeling along the edge. "Something hard." She retrieved her seam ripper and carefully opened a section of the hem. Out fell a small USB drive, wrapped in plastic. We both stared at it. "Who gave you this dress?" Mrs. Park asked, her face serious. "My fiancé, Michael. It was his grandmother's dress. She passed away 2 years ago and left it to him for his future bride. I'd been so touched when he presented it to me. A vintage 1960s Dior, perfectly preserved." Mrs. Park picked up the USB drive with a tissue. "In 40 years of alterations, I found rings, money, love letters, but never this." She looked at me carefully. Did his grandmother know about technology like this? My stomach flipped. Michael's grandmother had been 92 when she died. She didn't even own a smartphone. "Can we look at what's on it?" I asked. Mrs. Park had an ancient laptop in her shop. We plugged in the USB, both of us holding our breath. The drive contained dozens of folders, all labeled with women's names. Jennifer, Ashley, Patricia, Morgan. At least 20 folders. I clicked on Jennifer. Photos filled the screen. A beautiful brunette wearing my dress, standing in a church, walking down an aisle, cutting a wedding cake, getting married. "This dress has been worn before," Mrs. Park said quietly. "Recently." I clicked through more folders. Each one showed a different woman wearing the dress. Different weddings, different years. The most recent was dated just 8 months ago, well after Michael's grandmother had supposedly died. My hands were shaking as I found a folder labeled Master List. It was a spreadsheet. Names, dates, locations, and notes. Jennifer, May 2021, Cleveland, annulled. Patricia, October 2021, Detroit, annulled. Morgan, January 2022, Chicago, annulled. 23 women, 23 weddings, all annulled within weeks. At the bottom of the spreadsheet was my name. Rachel, May 2023, Pittsburgh, pending. I called Michael immediately. He answered cheerfully. "Hey babe, how's the fitting going?" "Michael, whose dress is this really?" Silence. "What do you mean?" "It's my grandmother's." "Your grandmother who died 2 years ago?" "Because I'm looking at photos of women wearing this dress at weddings last year." He hung up. Mrs. Park was already on her phone. "I'm calling my daughter. She's a private investigator." Within an hour, the truth came out. Michael's real name was Mitchell Graves. He was a professional con artist who specialized in marrying women, accessing their financial accounts during the honeymoon period, then disappearing with annulment papers already filed. The dress was his prop. He bought it at an estate sale 5 years ago and created the grandmother story. Each woman got the same tale about the precious family heirloom. Each one felt special wearing it. Mrs. Park's daughter Lisa found Mitchell's pattern. He'd target women with good jobs and savings, romance them quickly, push for fast engagements. The dress always sealed the deal. What woman could resist such a romantic gesture? "The USB was probably sewn in by one of his victims," Lisa explained. "Someone who figured out the scam and wanted to warn the next woman." I looked at the last entry on the spreadsheet. There was a note next to Morgan's name. "She knows. Planted evidence. Avoid Chicago. Morgan, the last woman before me. She tried to warn me." Lisa tracked down Morgan's number. When I called, she answered immediately. "You found the USB," she said. It wasn't a question. "How did you know?" Morgan laughed bitterly. "I hired a seamstress to sew it in during my fitting. I knew he'd use the dress again. I knew someone would eventually find it." She told me her story. How Mitchell had seemed perfect. How the grandmother's dress had made her cry with joy. How she discovered his scam when she'd overheard him on the phone during their rehearsal dinner, planning his next mark. "I couldn't prove anything," Morgan said. "He's too careful, but I could leave evidence for the next woman." "Why didn't you go to the police?" "I did. He hadn't actually stolen anything yet. Just married me under a false name. That's fraud, but hard to prosecute. He annuls the marriages before taking money, so technically no theft occurs." But Morgan had been smarter than Mitchell realized. She documented everything, and she'd been waiting for someone to find that USB. We had him now. 23 cases of fraud, identity theft. The FBI got very interested when they realized he crossed state lines multiple times. I gave them the dress as evidence. Mitchell was arrested at what would have been our rehearsal dinner.